Good evening, everybody. This is Land Title Talk, and if you'll notice, I am not Stephen Collins.
I am.
And she's not Stephen Collins either. She's better looking. That's Megan Wall from St. Johns County Legal Aid, and I am Rusty Collins, and I'm a local attorney in town and Stephen's big brother. Stephen is at the pier doing music by the sea and playing music without me. So he is busy tonight, and he has let me take the show for this evening with my good friend Megan Wall. Megan, how long ago did we meet?
When did you get out of law school? How long ago?
2008.
And we met in the end of 2007. You were at the end of law school and you were coming in to try to volunteer. I told you had to be a bar member. And then you came in and took 6 cases the moment you passed the bar.
Well, I know I was admitted in September of 2008.
You didn't even have a bar number. So you came in, you took 6 cases. I was so thrilled. And then I thought, who is this guy? It's too good to be true. I looked you up in the bar website and you weren't listed and you didn't have a number. I called the bar. I go, I don't know what to say. I just gave some guy that's not a lawyer 6 cases. And the bar said, it's okay. We don't update the website every day. And he's got a number. We just haven't put it on there. I felt much better after that. I was like, you can't just hand 6 cases to somebody who says they're a lawyer.
Well, actually, I met you at the law school at a seminar.
Right. Consumer seminar with April Charney.
That's right. April Charney was there, and I pretty much argued with her from the front row the whole time.
Oh, yeah. You knew more than she did.
But and then I learned some things, and I learned I could do some stuff like this because I didn't know there was any defenses to foreclosure. And that's what got me started, and then I started volunteering.
Oh, thank goodness for you. Thank goodness you became a lawyer because you have been a full-time legal aid lawyer the whole time and unpaid, and we appreciate it. Hey, wait, don't tell his wife.
Yeah, she don't like that. Yeah.
She just where's all our money?
We need the bills paid. Anyway, so we're here. We've got Julie Settle with us from Land Title, and if you'd like to chime in with a question, you can go to Land Title's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Land Title America. You can also do you can text a message into her cell phone at 904-770-5423. And
that's also the 904 Now app.
The 904 Now app also has a way for you to ask a question. You've got 2 lawyers here who think they know everything. So,
well, Rusty really does know everything, and I just ask him questions.
Well, anyway, so right now, St. Johns County has what's called an eviction docket. I play both sides of most things I deal with. So I prosecute evictions, and I also defend against evictions. And one of the biggest problems we used to have was getting a hearing, because the judges were interpreting almost anything filed by a defendant in an eviction case. They would interpret it as a motion to determine rent, which is something you can do. And so there'd be a hearing, but you could never hardly get a hearing. Well, a couple of years ago, the 2 judges we had doing that decided that we were going to have an eviction court. So nowadays, the first Monday that's at least 5 to 10 days after somebody gets served, there'll be a hearing. And that allows the plaintiffs to get a faster resolution most of the time. It also allows the defendants to be able to maybe make some kind of a deal to either maybe repay to catch up on rent, or to work out a deal to leave by a certain time, or to pay some money and then leave later. It gives opportunities to figure out something that may work for both sides. And that way, a person may not need to have a final judgment of eviction against them that will hurt them later with trying to get a new place. So it serves both purposes by giving a landlord a quicker way to get to an end, and it tries to help the defendants at the same time. And we've been fairly successful with that. There used to be some money that was available, which we were able to use for, there was a grant of some kind.
Yeah, for back rent catch up. That was nice. And during COVID, that money came down, but it came down slower. And so, yeah, it was kind of left over for a while, which was nice.
that money's gone.
Yeah, it is gone.
But there,
Might get some more someday from another source, maybe help people with catch up rent. I mean, catching up on rent helps everybody. It
does.
helps the landlord because they get paid. It helps the tenant because otherwise they're leaving and they're never going to pay it. They can barely pay the next rent. But
Right.
Rusty, I don't think everybody understands how bad an eviction is on your record. When I first sat down with Judge Blocker and Judge Woolsey and Judge Christini, the county court judges, they really didn't know. I mean, they were granting evictions every day, but they had no idea that that was really like the kiss of death for a person. They can never get public housing. It does tank their credit report, but that's not the biggest deal. They can't get another rental place because most applications say, "Have you ever been evicted?" I think people don't realize what a really serious barrier that is to have that final judgment. So tenants, though, once they know that, they're willing to maybe pony up some more money, definitely not destroy the place on the way out, make nice with the landlord. If the landlord's willing to get a date certain, right? And these people don't have it on their record, it was just dismissed case. That's a win-win for everybody. And so it's great that you're in there on Mondays with the other lawyers that are in there just trying to negotiate those deals. Because I really don't think that most people know what an eviction does. I don't think landlords even knew how much it really hurt people.
Well, that's the thing. The goal is to get some kind of a resolution that works out. And every time we start these eviction dockets, and again, it's every Monday, unless there's a holiday or something. The judges will say, ladies and gentlemen, we're here for eviction court. If you're a defendant, I am limited to what I can do. And the statute is very clear on what you have to do to defend an eviction case. If it's for non-payment of rent, you have to put money in the registry of the court. If the landlord says you didn't pay last month's rent and it was $1,000, then you need to put that money in the registry. And then if rent comes due while you're in the process of this, you still have to continue to pay your rent in the registry. That is part of the state statute. And if you don't do that, the statute says you've waived all defenses and the landlord is entitled to an immediate judgment of eviction without further notice or hearing.
I tell tenants you have to pay to play.
You got to pay to play.
So, it's really tough for them to do that. I mean, they're obviously behind in rent because they've lost their job or they became disabled or something bad happened. So it's really difficult to even try to get a negotiated end date. I'll move out by X date and then maybe can give you part of the rent or make sure I clean the place real well so you can rent it right away. So it's great that you guys are in there and you resolve almost all of the cases.
We resolve most cases that we have.
I love that. That's great. Great for the community.
So, but we only get them, me and the other volunteers who come, we only get these cases when there's a case filed. When should somebody ask for help? When is the time to ask for help?
Well, people call our office all day long and we talk to them and they say, I don't have the rent. We tell them, don't just sit tight and wait for the eviction. I mean, we divert a lot of that. I tell them, if you can move out sooner, that's what you need to do. If you move out in the 3 days, they can't file an eviction. You don't have that on your record. Go talk to the landlord. Work out your own deal before the landlord files the case. Because the landlord files the case not for free. Right, that's another filing fee of what, $480?
It's $180 to file it, and then there's $10 for each summons and $40 for each service of process by the sheriff,
which they also don't get paid. Right, so again, less and less incentive each time. More times gone by without rent. I mean, you're getting in a position where landlords, whatever they get for their default final judgment, they get possession, but you get an angry tenant on the way out the door. The place isn't maybe going to look as nice as you want it to be, and sometimes they don't leave and he takes a sheriff. And I mean, it's just nasty for the neighborhood. It's nasty for everybody involved, the children. So it's really great that you guys are in there. It's really great that you're working out deals. And yeah, people can work out deals in advance. I think you guys do too when we send you the cases early. You call up the landlord and try to work out the deal before it goes.
I got a case as a plaintiff's attorney.
Right.
And I was trying to help my plaintiff. And I had some communication with the defendant by text, I think, or email. And I said, I need you to call legal aid.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We can, and you need to talk to this person.
Right.
And if you are willing to make a deal, we'll dismiss this case.
Yeah. Nice.
And the same day, I got an email back from Holly, who does the work on the eviction for
Lawyer at
legal aid.
legal aid. Right.
And we had that deal worked out.
Perfect.
So nobody has to go to court on that deal.
They don't. Just,
And now, but here's the downside, or the other side of that is if the defendant doesn't leave when they're supposed to, because we made a deal,
right.
there's no hearing. Okay, we tell the judge they didn't leave. The judge gives us a judgment. We go get a writ of possession, take it to the sheriff, pay him the $90, and it's on autopilot at that point.
Right.
So we don't have to go back to court. So it's a definite end for the landlord, and it does give the defendant some closure. I mean, it may not be the closure they want, but they can go on and start their new adventure, whatever it is, but they know. But what can people do when they're starting to have struggles financially?
Well,
Something happened, the car broke, whatever the deal is where you have a problem, an unexpected medical expense. What can they do up front before they're in trouble?
I always tell them to talk to the landlord. Talk to them right away and call your friends and family. And I always say, call your friends and family and the county and social services and your church, because really the landlord isn't the person that should be loaning you money.
Oh, no.
That's not their relationship to you.
Well, they might have to make a mortgage payment too.
Right. No, that's what I mean. So asking them to let you pay by payments, that's them loaning you money. Right. I mean,
yeah.
And I think that's really something for friends, family, churches, and social services. You
have a list of social services available, don't you?
We do, and we give it out, and the county sends it out, every week, and we send it to all of you and the clients. And there's some monies here and there, Catholic Charities and, Lutheran and the social service departments and Care Connect, and they've got some, and they have some utility assistance too. And they try to put it together, and they try to find you more affordable housing. Remember, even the affordable housing stuff like Section 8, which is out of Jacksonville, but we accept those vouchers. You can never get those ever if you have an eviction on your record. That's a really big thing. I mean, I have people becoming seniors that want some of that rent-controlled senior housing. We have about 7 complexes in town, and they're prohibited from applying for it. It's a big barrier to have an eviction on your record. People don't believe me. I'm like, you have to either move. Well, we have nowhere to go. Well, you're going to have nowhere to go when the 24-hour writ's served. You might as well find nowhere to go now. Call the shelters, call family and friends.
At least you can pack.
At least you can pack. Get your important documents. Get the prescription drugs. Get your kids' birth certificates. Like get what you need, and don't worry about the couch. You got a Goodwill. You'll just go back to Goodwill later when you get another place. So. I spend a lot of time on the phone with people that they really just haven't. It's like for hurricanes, you haven't pre-planned for that emergency, but you should have a backup plan, even if it's staying on your friend's couch or, whatever you can do. But
one thing I've learned with doing these eviction cases is rent is not cheap in St. Johns County.
How did that happen, right? You've been here long enough.
I couldn't afford to rent here. I'm glad I own my home. I make a mortgage payment that's way less than most people's rent.
It's unbelievable why it's not market, like people can't pay that, and yet
somebody's paying it.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people, you think from out of town or something. I think
I don't
visitors know.
Well, I think we have the bigger, we're getting more apartment complexes.
Yeah.
One of the problems I've seen with apartment complexes, I had a case through legal aid where the guy's security deposit was paid they required him to pay with money orders. And then because he had endorsed the back of them because he thought he was supposed to, they wouldn't take them. They took them from him, but then they took and pasted it or taped them to his door. That's how they returned them. Say, your deposit's not done. And then, so he sends them off to Western Union to get them replaced, and it's taking forever and ever.
'Cause that's the same as cash.
Yeah.
And
but
because you endorse the back, they're not valid? I didn't know.
They're perfectly valid.
They're perfectly valid.
All you got to do is scan them son of guns, and they go right in the bank.
Exactly.
But then they cut him off from being able to pay through their portal.
Oh.
Okay, so
One thing
then he's
after
behind
late fees and
right. And when we finally when we got to him, we went and redid the math and said the whole thing starts from this first event.
Yeah.
He was current on his rent, but they kept posting it wrong because he couldn't pay it through the portal. He had to pay it in person, and you got to coordinate because you can't drop off the money. And then it might take a couple of days to get posted. They were hitting him with late fees, all this stuff. And
That
bottom
happens,
line was he was current on his rent, except they didn't have the security deposit because they rejected the money.
That's the same with mortgages. You've defended mortgages, same thing, where people really have paid, but there's been these problems or something's happened or they posted to the last month. And yeah, it's really too bad that people can't work with
Well, we
people
finally
a
got
better.
a good manager,
Good, good.
from out of town, and she says, we got to solve this.
Good.
And Monday, the case was just dismissed. But the proviso is that if he still has to continue to try to get those money orders refunded, and then as soon as he does it, he'll give it to them. But they've opened up the portal now, so they can pay like normal people instead of paying to the registry.
This is, things are too complicated for their own good, And, speaking of housing in the community, I was just at the Continuum of Care meeting this morning, which is about homelessness and preventing homelessness. And, they're the ones that dole out a lot of the money to these charities for rent and stuff and find people housing. And Habitat for Humanity announced they've got 20 applications open, which means that's 20 homes that they want people to apply for, families to buy. And then another person announced that the county has, down payment assistance of up to $100,000 under a grant they wrote for people that be homeowners. So I really encourage people to go over to Habitat for Humanity and apply and you have to build your own house. You have to put in your sweat equity or get people to do it. It takes a while, but you'll be in there by Christmas. I mean, it doesn't take forever. And it's a home. You own a home in a nice neighborhood with nice other people next door.
And an interest rate that's wonderful, called 0.
Yeah. I don't know. I know they're really good and there's sometimes ship loans and there's some, but it's a safe, affordable place to live and it's really nice. And the designs are beautiful, done by the best architect in town. Pro bono architect Brian McCloskey did all of those for the last 25 years, every single home.
That's Megan's husband we're talking about.
Of 33 years. So I was the one that talked him into starting that. 25 years ago, I said, honey, you should also do pro bono with your architecture service. And so he looked at me that day, he was like, enough or not?
More.
I know, exactly.
So
he's a great guy, though.
This is Land Title Talk, and sponsored by Land Title. And I am Stephen Collins' big brother, and he is at the pier playing music by the sea. And he is he's the drummer and the best timekeeper because he has a click track in his ear. And he sings like you wouldn't believe.
How does he sing and drum at the same time? He is great.
Practice.
He is an amazing drummer, amazing singer, amazingly talented.
And he had no coordination as a child.
Really? Oh, we would not have known that. You're telling all here.
Yes, he had no
coordination. Well, he's out not listening to us. We're telling secrets.
There's no secrets in my family.
I guess not. So how did he get coordinated by learning to play the drums? Is that He's really
I was the
good.
Original drummer in the family.
I've seen you take the drums in the band.
He wanted to play drums too, and he was not coordinated. He had a neurological problem that he outgrew.
He obviously outgrew it.
And
he's brilliant.
He is.
And you do keyboards, sing,
drums.
Yeah, I remember when you came to a bar fundraiser we had at Legal Aid. The judges were all there, and what was the funny song you sang?
I'll Sue Ya.
By Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, there's nothing like singing that song to a group of attorneys.
We were laughing so hard. It's legendary now that we've got to get you back to get a band together and sing and play for the judges and lawyers again. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. A lot of fun.
Well, this is Land Title Talk, sponsored by Land Title. My brother likes to say, if you have to have a closing, you might want to go local, because the people that own companies here, they're still going to be here when something goes wrong.
That's the truth.
If you have a closing with a title company that's in Ohio, while they can probably do a lot of stuff remotely, they can't give you service remotely. And in fact, I like Land Title the best since they got a lawyer sitting around to help answer certain questions.
A nice one that speaks English and cares about people. Yeah, that's The same is true of all lawyers, though, that you really should go with a lawyer that's in town, not some big firm that's out of who knows what. I even hear ads on the radio like, this person is actually not licensed to practice law in Florida, but they have people,
But that's usually for the PI cases or
whatever.
the tax cases.
Yeah, no, the trust case, making a living trust for you, doing all kinds of things. It's like, why? And those people don't do pro bono for their local community. I mean, I've got all your numbers. You can't escape, right? Helping out a little bit.
Well, speaking of trusts or estates, one of the things that happens a lot in the closing business is you've got some kind of a probate thing that's going to slow things down or at least cost you a little bit more. And we talk about how most people can either make probate stuff less taxing or make it not needed at all. I mean, one of the questions was, what can you do to avoid probate? Well, the first thing you can do is not die. But that's not usually,
That's not negotiable all the time.
Yeah, that's not always
that's
something.
That's going to happen no matter.
That's not always something you can do.
But there's lots you can do.
There's lots we can do to make it less of a problem. Usually when I'm doing a case or doing some estate planning for somebody, for most people, I can't say you don't need a will, but our goal is to try to make it to where you don't need a will.
And you don't need it if you're just leaving it to your spouse and kids. That's what happens without a will.
Well, that's true, but then you have to have probate.
Well, here's the number one thing you can do, I think. And I do lecture on this at the Council on Aging and the Public Library, and anyone who'll listen. You put a beneficiary designation on every single bank account, checking, savings, and on your 401, anything that's money. Put pay on my death to these people. Print it out, highlight it. They can just go get it. I think that's a really good idea, and I think that people don't know that.
Yeah, that's correct. And the other thing you can also do that with your house.
Yes, you can, with your house, if it's paid off.
Now, even if it's not paid off.
Well, if it has a mortgage, isn't it kind of tricky if the mortgage company comes out and says, hey, you messed with that deed without our permission?
You don't need permission for that.
Okay.
The federal law is if it descends, if it goes to a spouse or descends, or goes into a family revocable trust, they don't count that as being a transfer.
So it can be a ladybird deed.
Especially a ladybird deed.
So what if it's not a family member?
Still descends or is devised. I think you may have some more problems.
Because remember, with me, we're going to leave it to Sydney.
Right.
Right, who's not legally our child, even though we raised him.
You got life insurance?
Yeah, we do, but it doesn't go to him. Yeah, for each other.
Okay.
Like in a term.
Oh, term?
Yeah. We should get some more, huh? So he has more.
Well, you pay off the mortgage.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah.
I'd have to kill somebody, but yeah.
You can tell me after you do it.
Okay.
But not before.
Not before. Lawyers have to take all secrets that were in the past to the grave, but if you say you're going to do something, then they have to tell.
We have to tell somebody.
I don't know if everyone knows that. That's why it's like, don't tell me yet.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a fire. Oh, no, that's next week. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can't talk about that next week.
Not funny.
So I know when I deal with people for estate planning, I try to find out without getting too nosy, what they've got going on. And the most important document that I actually do for them, from my perspective, is a durable power of attorney. Why is that like the most important document you can sign?
That is so important to do. Now, it's so important if you have someone you trust.
Well, you kind of have to have that too.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people come in and for whatever reasons they've outgrown or outlasted all their friends, or they don't know where
I made this friend at a bar and
exactly. I've got this one person, or
and now my money's gone.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have someone you trust, I mean, this person is your pre-need guardian, right? I mean, you're unconscious. They can do anything, but they're supposed to be able to do anything for the good of you, right? But they can clean you out too. They'd go to jail, but if you could find them, but it's a lot of power. And I think I have one. I think it's really important. I encourage anyone that has a trustworthy person to have one of these documents. Legal aid does them for free for anybody 60 and over.
Right.
You got to get in. I mean, it's not, not drive-through service. I'm months in advance at the Council on Aging. I go every Friday and see people one at a time by appointment. And we try to get all these documents done, but it's one-on-one. I mean, I I don't do it lightly. I don't say, just put any name in there. We don't care who it is. We talk to some people. They've got to have capacity. They have to understand who they're pointing, the powers in that document. It's a very powerful document.
Oh, yeah.
It's meant to be, right? So if you have a guardian angel, it's a perfect document. If you have a guardian who's not an angel, then you might be wiped out when you wake up. So I tell people it's not, you got to have the right people. And if you don't, then, and also if you have a lot, some people walk in, they have so much. And I think, if you got designer clothes on, you need a designer power of attorney. If you're me, then okay, you're off the rack. There's not a lot to steal, right? You're okay. But I do worry about people that have too much doing those documents. I think they need to,
think about it a little bit.
Well, someone could just bring a guardianship. It's about $5,000 or $10,000, but it comes out of the ward's, money.
Right.
And if the ward's got millions, that's okay.
Right. Now, there's a big difference with the power of attorney and then having somebody have a guardianship. I mean,
Yeah.
a power of attorney, you don't have, if you're the attorney, in fact, under a power of attorney, you don't have the legal ability to force the person who signed that power of attorney to do anything. In fact, they can override you.
They can revoke it at will just by saying it's revoked. Exactly.
A guardianship is much different because with a guardianship, we're taking an adult and turning them into a child.
Brian Wilson, who just died today from the Beach Boys. I'm sorry if you didn't know he died.
I didn't know
he
died.
Sorry. I just heard it on the news on the way here, but I had just seen a movie a few years ago with John Cusack where he played the part of Brian Wilson's life where somebody did get a guardianship over him and doped him up and took all his money and wouldn't let him see people. And it's a good movie. So look up John Cusack movie about Brian Wilson. I forgot the name, but it's very well done. And it's a very serious issue to get a guardian. You're supposed to have a lack of capacity.
Right.
That's why someone can become your guardian. But
right.
the question
and
is,
we're taking people's rights away. So when somebody goes to make a guardianship, the court gets them a lawyer because we're taking away their rights, and you can't do that without due process. Not only do you have to have, I think, 3 healthcare professionals say that you don't have capacity, but you have a lawyer who represents just you. Okay.
You hope. And then there's some advocates, and then there's some people that kind of check boxes, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you do the pre-need guardianship durable power of attorney, the court has to use that person unless that person's unfit. So,
they take it fairly serious.
Very seriously. So if you file a guardianship and it says, well, she appointed Brian McCloskey, what's wrong with him? I mean, you can't override that unless he's unfit. So it's at least your way before you become incapacitated or unconscious that you're saying who you want. It's a very important thing to declare.
What about healthcare power of attorney or
healthcare surrogate?
Healthcare surrogacy.
Those are easy to get. I mean, they're almost in the lobby of Flagler Hospital, and every hospital, hospice hands it to you, that just says who can make health choices. They don't have control.
Why is that so important, you think?
Well, it's really important because they should know, how to consent to what you do want and not consent to what you don't want.
And the doctors don't want to get sued.
That's right, of course. And if you don't have one, next of kin is under the statute as your natural healthcare surrogate. So
right.
Spouses and
what if
kids.
you have 5 kids?
That's right.
And they
all
don't
5
agree.
Have equal rights, exactly.
Okay.
A little committee, 5 to right.
Is it a 3 to 2 vote?
3 to 2. Majority rules, right? It's a mess. They will appoint somebody at the hospital to make those choices. But yeah, I think it's important. But I think the person that's the healthcare surrogate ideally should be also the durable power of attorney, because then they can also have the copays, deductibles if it's not covered by your Blue Cross. I mean, they're going to be looking at who's got the money. I mean, that's what healthcare is. They want to get paid. So if you've got the daughter who's the nurse saying, oh, go ahead and do the surgery, and the son who's the CPA he's like, I'm not paying for it. They're going to just be looking at the one that's got the.
They had a vote.
You got to have the
won.
same person, even if you call a friend to make the decision, you really should have someone who's handling the money, handle the medical, because it's also the medical costs.
Well, especially now, if you're older and you're on Medicare and you're not worried so much about those costs.
It's only 80%. There's still the 20%. And you might want something at the Mayo for cancer that's a T cell or a stem cell or something else that's maybe not fully covered, maybe called experimental.
Well, I'm talking about, but if you're older and that's not the issue as far as money, you just need to have somebody that you've talked to, who knows your desires and is willing to turn you off.
Who knows how to get you into hospice. Exactly. And knows how to get a DNR, which is my clients now have those purple rubber bracelets.
Really?
DNRs are right there on your hand. It used to be that little gold sheet. I'd see it up on the refrigerator or whatever.
Yeah, I see. I don't like the DNR just.
It's on your no, it's on your deathbed. Like, do not resuscitate. I'm here to die, and if lightning hits me through the window, just let it go. Don't bring the panel. Just I wasn't meant to die from lightning, but hey.
my big problem with people doing pre-need DNRs is you walk out the door from your lawyer's office, you get hit by a bee, you end up on the ground with anaphylactic shock, and then the ambulance guys just let you go.
It's come from 2 doctors, so your lawyer can't give you a DNR, right? I mean, so, it's really definitely one of those things on your deathbed is a really good idea, but, because you don't want all those heroic measures. If you're there in hospice, you're there, you don't know how it's going to go, but that's where you're going. You're not supposed to be staying. You got to pick if you're staying or going.
Yeah. Well, what about living wills?
Living wills are pretty weak in Florida. I mean, it's a Terry Schiavo state, right? I mean, they're pretty weak. You have to be end stage, terminal, or persistent vegetative state, completely incapacitated. 2 doctors have to say independently there's no probability of your recovery. That is a very high standard I've never seen met. But at least it gives the family, the healthcare surrogate, some push to say this is what Megan wanted, right? She wanted to be out of this hospital, in hospice, or at home, and she wanted to go. She didn't want any more heroic measures once she was going, not staying. You got to
make her comfortable and let her go. Pick
the path. It's like, are you still going to keep trying to live? Or are you giving up the game? And like what you said, don't die. It's going to happen. Right? They used to say death and taxes, but I'm pretty sure only death is still required.
Depends on how rich you are.
Exactly.
Well, this is Land Title Talk. If you have any questions or comments, you can do that on the Facebook, Land Title's Facebook page at Land Title of America at Facebook, or Facebook/Land Title of America, or you can send a text message to Shelley 904-770-5423. Or if you really want to, you can text my brother, or better yet, call him at midnight or 2 or 3 in the morning at 904-501-4481.
That's his private number.
So
not anymore.
Look at that. They even have that thing. They even have that number up there on the screen. That's pretty cool.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
That's not okay. That's not Steven's private cell phone.
No, I am not crazy to put up Steven's number for you. I'm sorry about Steven.
That's okay. I will publish it as much as I can.
Don't publish.
We had it up last week.
That's right.
It'll be up next week.
Well, as soon as we said Steven was playing rock and roll at the beach,
they all left.
That's it. You shouldn't start the show like that. Well, this is recorded. We'll come back another. I don't blame them. I mean, you could be at the beach in a lawn chair listening to Steven play rock and roll. What are we doing here? I'm just saying.
If I'm not playing, I ain't showing up.
That's right. That's true. So, I only hear when you play too.
What kind of things does legal aid in St. Johns County do that's not evictions?
Eviction defense. So be clear. Yeah, landlords call us all the time. Eviction defense, right? And foreclosure defense, big one. Saving homes, refinance. We've got HUD certified counselors that refinance mortgages, and we want to keep families in their homes. We want to stabilize communities, and we also do a whole host of other things. We run a pro se class, which means that if you've got your own forms, you're trying to file your own forms. It could be a name change, divorce, custody, change of something, defense. I want to reduce my child support. We've got lawyers that we assign to you for free, and you can work with them and make sure the forms are correct and get them notarized and filed in court, and they can advise you.
And the reason they call it a pro se class is the lawyer's not going with you to court. They're going to help you do the forms right.
It's much easier for us to get a whole bunch of volunteers to help people help themselves than to really just take all these cases for free. I mean, that's, other than you, it's really hard to get lawyers. Can I tell a Rusty story though? But so yes, call legal aid for, pro bono clinics, consumer classes, pro se classes. We try to just do all we can. Certainly the senior work that I do down at the Council on Aging, we do lectures, about 5 a month at different locations, giving free legal information. You do a lot of those for us. When I can't
Well,
go.
those are fun.
Yep. You go to the Council on Aging, Nocatee, Players, the main one, Hastings. We in the public libraries. I mean, we do try to provide a lot of information to the public. And then the Florida Bar runs florida.freelegalanswers.org. Florida.freelegalanswers.org. You email your question and a Florida lawyer for free answers you back. Gives you information you can rely on. That's pretty good. Florida Law Help is also a website that walks you through a divorce or any kind of case, which is good, tells you what happens, what to expect. And then the Florida Bar Lawyer Referral Service is also free to anybody who's indigent. You get to speak to a lawyer on any area of law for a half hour for free. If you're not indigent, if you and I want to call, it's $25.
But that's pretty good for half an hour.
It's extremely good. I don't think I can I can get my hair cut for half an hour. I mean, it's very good. So those are all really affordable places to go. And then the Senior Legal Helpline is a legal aid statewide that just takes calls from seniors, regardless of their income and assets. If it's a subject matter, they know lawyers are standing by on the phone, ready to take their calls. So Florida Senior Legal Helpline, not to be confused with any of the things that pop up when you put that in the Google chat, but that's 888-895-7873. It's a legal aid that just applied for a grant to do phone assistance for seniors 60 and over throughout the whole state of Florida. So those are really a lot of places to go for information. Getting a lawyer to just grab the case and go into court with you for free. We gave the Betty Griffin House that part of our grant that did domestic violence for injunctions for protection. So they have an in-house lawyer to do that. So anybody who's been a victim, they have a free lawyer for that injunction for protection. Beyond that, if you want to get divorced or all the other family law is like just the most difficult to get everybody to do for free. But we do. If someone has special needs, we put it before the committee. You've done the pro bono clinic numerous times. They vote on it. And we have about 80 lawyers right now handling a case for free. You know,
in St. Johns County?
Andrew Morgan, John Westfield, Brandon Beardsley. I mean, they've all got a case. And then when they're done with the case, they get another one. So sometimes I have to say, wait a minute, you've had that for, oh yeah, I didn't tell you we saw Adriana LaForce. I mean, we do a honor roll, which, you know, everyone should see. Those lawyers are all helping with something for free for the community, the elderly, the blind, the disabled, the low income. Those are all our clients. So we don't do everything for everyone. You have to be low income. You have to have special needs. You have to be an area of law that involves poverty. But even like credit card debt, not knowing what to pay and what not to pay when you don't have enough money, those are all things that we advise on and help people about. So it's good to call. But can I tell a story? I know I'm giving it. Okay. I got a call, what was it, like 3 months ago from the county, right? It was from Jenny Harvey. And she said, Megan, it was a Friday at 6:30 at night. Of course, I'm still working. And she said, you know, there's a family and a tree fell on their house or something. And we've got them in a hotel and we've got a ship loan ready to roll. Now, a ship loan means there's all the money to get the repairs done, but they don't have to actually pay it. If they continue to live there, it's forgiven over time, right? So they have to live there 20 years or whatever. So they're in this house. The ship loan came through, which is a miracle. Bill Lazar from the Housing Partnership got the people there, the contractors, to drop everything, come there. They're going to repair this family's house because it's grandma, mom, right, disabled daughter, whole host of people, right? None of them, you know, all of them disabled and special needs. And she said, so we're about to roll on the ship loan. And then, oh, they don't own the house. Dead great grandma owns the house, right? She said, that great grandma died like 12 years ago. And nobody ever did the probate to get it into the name of the new owners. So how long do you think it would take to do this? You remember this, right? I call Rusty up. You guys want his private cell number? He probably would answer. He picks it up. I go, here's the story. Rusty goes, time me. Do you remember this?
I don't remember saying time me.
Well, it was something like that. I said, how long would this take? You go, I could do this in my sleep. I said, okay. So by Monday morning, you had filed the whole case, gotten a declaration, got a hold of the judge, didn't ask or somebody, and it had signed. So by Monday morning, the whole case was over.
The stars lined up on that
well,
one,
the
and I
stars
had a cooperative judge.
Well, yeah, judge. Well, we heard the situation. I mean, the whole county's involved in trying to get this house repaired, and everything's about to fall apart. Remember, the ship loan, if it's not used, it goes to the next person. And if those contractors aren't on that job that day, I mean, they're going to the next. I mean, they got things to do, ramps to build. I mean, so it had all lined up, and then you were the one that lined it up perfectly. And then boom, there it was.
Everything worked out great because we had the signatures we needed. We had the documents we needed. Once we got it filed and had a case number, all I had to do was send the order to Judge Janesk, and you tell his JA, his judicial assistant, what's going on, and they don't even have to be there to sign it. He could be in an airplane and sign it. Okay, all he needs is internet access, and he signed it very quickly, and we were able to help.
Oh, thank goodness! And that was my county. But remember, there was a case out of Putnam County, which is not a county I run the legal aid in. And I got a call from that tax collector. And she said, I heard you're the person to call. I said, not for Putnam County. I do St. Johns County. The legal aid in Putnam County is its own legal aid. She said, well, they don't seem to be calling me back, but, everyone said to call you and you'd make this happen. And I'm like, oh, dear God, what is she going to ask me to do? So that one, a husband had died. He was the only one on the house.
Right.
And the wife had just never done anything about probating it into her name or getting it into her name. And years had gone by. And of course, she lost the homestead exemption. So the property taxes went sky high and kept going sky high because no 3%, cap, no. And by then she was losing the house for taxes. And the property appraiser said, or the tax collector said, I'm going to go into the streets. I'm going to go to the churches. I'm going to try to collect this money. But is there anything that you can do? And I called you and you said, why can't we get it retroactively back to when the husband died? And she gets homestead and we get all of those taxes set aside except the homestead amounts. And that would be a much lower tax amount. And then she could pay it. And I said, you can do that? See, that's a good thing about you, where you will go to any. I don't want you to go to all these other counties there because I want you all for our people.
Well, that one was different because the property appraiser removed the homestead because the husband had died and she had never applied for homestead.
Right.
But that's not what the statute says. The statute says if the property transfers from a spouse to another spouse by a deed, by devise, if there's a will when the person dies, or by descent, meaning there is no will, that is not a transfer that requires you to reapply for homestead. And the property appraiser was not on board with that. And so we got Judge Janesk to sign an order that said, yeah, you do have to reestablish it. And in the meantime, somebody raised some money to pay. And we got it done in time to redeem the property from the tax deed sale. And what was also weird is she only had a life estate. We were able to do it, and she only had a life estate because it went to the son of the deceased person, but because she was a spouse, she gets to live there. But it's still the life estate's enough to keep the homestead, and that's a big deal. Okay, because we have property values that go up, so it's just
saved
important.
Another home.
Well,
and the people that had bought the tax certificates, that's what I was worried about.
Money.
Like they did. The state has a fund where if things are done incorrectly, they reimburse those people. So everyone came out ahead. The woman and her kids and everybody are still there, and they got to
the
save
tax collector, who's no longer the tax collector, was able to help.
I had no idea. Yeah, she was about to retire.
Yeah,
that was her last good deed on the way out.
But the tax collectors, it's not like you see in the old Robin Hood movie where the tax collector is trying to cheat everybody.
No, she was trying to do a fundraiser in the streets for this woman.
That tax collector was that way.
She was so great.
Dennis Hollingsworth, the tax collector, retired.
Really like him.
He was wonderful about trying to help people.
Yeah.
So all those resources are here.
Eddie Kramer, every time I've asked him a question, he's right there, sits down with me, helps me
Every
out.
time I've argued with him, I knew why I was wrong when I got done. Okay.
In a nice way, too.
Well, yeah, of course. But the point is not only does he say, this is the way it is, he says, this is why. I don't have discretion as much as I want to help. I can't.
Oh, he wants to.
Or whatever.
Yeah, no, he really cares about this community.
Their goal is to get everybody to get every exemption they're entitled to.
Right.
Okay, it's not like he gets a commission on assessing you more. Okay.
Yeah.
It-
Is that the office that Karen Higgins works in?
I'm not sure
I
where
get
she works
I get
now.
emails from Karen Higgins about you got to help this person, you got to help that person, you got to help this
Karen
person.
Higgins used to be Judge Trainer's judicial assistant.
And she is a big-hearted, kind person, and she's in one of those too. I get them, but they will. There's a lot of people in the community. I mean, Legal Aid's been here long enough, and these people that have worked and cared about this community for a long time, sometimes many generations. They're here and they work. You know, we all work behind the scenes to help out people, and I really love that about St. Johns County. I love that I could call you on the weekend and you're going to help that person save their home if it's important enough by Monday morning.
Well, if
And
it can be done, I want to try to do it.
that's great.
You know,
that's great. I love that.
Some things you can't help, but some things you can. This is Land Title Talk, and we'll be here next week also. And Stephen's supposed to be here, and Stephen and I will be playing off of each other, which is how we have the most fun. But we still got a few minutes left if you want to text a message to 904-770-5423 or use the Facebook Live for Land Title at facebook.com/Land Title of America. And, of course, you can always call my brother Stephen in the middle of the night at 904-501-4481. I encourage you to do so just to see if he answers because he says he will.
He was going to kill you. He can't disown you as a brother, though. You guys are so close.
That's right.
You might get a new phone, though. You might have cost him a phone.
No, he's had that phone number for everybody. Everybody has it.
Oh, you are
But,
so funny, Rusty.
And just when it comes to real estate closings and your needs in that area, if you're refinancing or selling your property, buying a property, you need to go local. And I know I'm tooting my own horn here, but you get better service locally. And we have, and again, my brother may not like this part, but if you can't use Land Title, use somebody local. Okay? And so it's going to be very, very, you'll get better service here.
And you may actually build onto the land you actually own. Remember, we just had that last week.
Oh, yeah.
Where you think you bought this piece of land and you built your property on this piece of land, and you should have had title insurance, right? It's not even your property. The
There's
guy
lots
is in a
of things that
it's not
It does have a
good.
happy.
lots of things title insurance will help with. It's
So
the one
also-
insurance you get that insures you against the things. Well, it's supposed to insure you against the things that you can see, but also it's more importantly for the things you can't see when you buy,
Right.
because you don't always know.
Make sure you got good
And out
title.
off of State Road 214, 10 years back, we had lots of issues that came up with a subdivision called College Park along 214, where the surveyor who did lots and lots of surveys out there that for the people who were building was about 200 feet off. So they had
Ooh.
title insurance for their lot. It's just their house wasn't on the lot.
Oh my goodness.
The house was sometimes across the street.
Mm.
Or on somebody else's lot. It was a
Yes.
mess, and it took a bunch of title underwriters and a replatting of the whole subdivision, a whole lot of nonsense to fix it.
Mm.
But those people who had title insurance and a special endorsement with that title insurance,
The Alta 9.
what's called the Alta 9, and Alta means American Land Title Association. That just means it's a standard form. But that endorsement it ensures that your house is located on your lot. Now, most of these people had mortgages, and those endorsements were always given on those by requirement of the lender. So they got the benefit of it getting fixed, but it was a mess. And you know what? You can be right. You didn't do anything wrong, and nobody tried to cheat anybody, but it can still be very expensive to fix.
Mhm.
So you got to do that. And typically there's title insurance in every closing, but if you go locally, you've got somebody here you can talk to, not a phone number, on somebody who doesn't know anything about real estate.
I love local people. I love being able to go to local people. And that ain't anybody. I mean, personal injury, it doesn't matter what family law, if that's a person with an office and you know them, everybody knows them, they help out the community, they volunteer at their local legal aid, they're in the Rotary. I mean, this is a community member. I always think that's the best way to go. I never like these big chain groups that come in. I don't like the chain restaurants that come in. I don't like, I want it to be a local. I still want it to be my town that I moved here 35 years ago for. So at least we're going to keep it like that, right, Rusty?
I like my Ruby Tuesday now. And my Longhorn. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll go with you.
But I also like Black Molly's.
Oh, Black Molly's local, and they're doing into Floridian out on the island. And actually, the whole Gypsy Cab, which was an institution, but the Purple Owl is supposed to be great. So,
hey,
can't wait to try it.
Shop local when you can.
I also want to thank you too for all of the, for a long time there was somebody in town that was putting their name in documents and putting their names in the trusts, and a lot of these people were older by the time they discovered that, and sometimes had cancer, sometimes had terminal diagnoses, and I really appreciate that I was able to go into your office within a moment's notice and you would redo all those documents and re-execute them for people. And I really appreciate that. I mean, that person's been disbarred now, but that was a lot of documents in town that you helped and legal aid helped, get back on track and leave the family in them instead of the disbarred lawyer. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, part of the oath is to do that. Next week, Stephen and I will be together, and we'll have with us as our guest local man named John Reardon, who's been around for a long time, and he'll be here to talk about reverse mortgages. And I know a lot about reverse mortgages. I've done a lot of reverse mortgages. I've defended foreclosures on reverse mortgages.
Yes, we defend a lot of them.
And if we were to have a talk between me and Megan about reverse mortgages, it could end up in fisticuffs.
I'm not a fan.
She's not a fan of them.
I mean, under very limited circumstances, but not very often. And, when the clients come in and say that they got a letter that says they died.
Yeah.
And the client's right there. Yes, it's an easier way to go. And these people often are illiterate or low income. They don't open their mail. It's just a sneaky way to get those houses out from under people. And it's all the time. Well, it's really disgusting.
To me, reverse mortgages are a tool in a tool belt.
Yeah, they're a tool,
and they're not for everybody.
They're not for, they're really tricky. And offer that to the family.
Oh, I know. You're a fan of saying, hey, how about this? Instead of me getting $500 a month from the reverse mortgage, why don't you guys all cough up $100 each? And then you can have the house for free when I die.
That's right. You can still have all that equity, help your parents out if they need money. And you might get a house for it one day, which might,
Yeah. So, but
you're right.
That's next week.
Under limited circumstances, I've seen where somebody's so behind and they're going to lose their house and there's no catching up and they're older. And I've seen Bill Lazar, and I've worked with some people. Once in a while, it's a good idea. But be careful. It shouldn't be a sales pitch. It shouldn't be people talked into it.
Right.
It should definitely be, that it's an advisable thing.
Yeah, sometimes it is. Not every time. To me, it's just a tool in the tool belt for estate planning. But what is the phone number to call legal aid if you need to call them?
And also you could go right online and apply now. We like much better. Jacksonville Area Legal Aid. And it says apply. And you just push apply. It goes right to the county. Because Jacksonville Area Legal Aid covers 17 counties. So, if you're in St. Johns County, it'll come straight to us. Online at the Jacksonville Area Legal Aid website's the best way to apply.
And what's the website then?
Jacksonville Area Legal Aid, jackslegalaid.org.
It's jackslegalaid.org.
Yeah,
okay.
But if you just put in Jacksonville Area Legal Aid, that's what pops up.
Okay.
So
Google will take care of you.
Yeah, and locally, if you want to call, some people can't use the computer. You can do it on your phone, but there's some people that maybe they're visually impaired, maybe they don't like to use devices.
They don't have an 8-year-old around to help them use the phone.
Exactly. They could just call 904-827-9921 and then leave a message and say, hey, this is Megan Wall. I'm being foreclosed. My deadline's this. My case numbers. Talk as long as you want. The more we know, then we try to prioritize the return calls, and we have people helping from remote locations. We have people calling people back. Everyone gets called back within a few hours, 24 hours at the most. But again, by priority, the person being evicted is going to be called first. Person that just has a question, a general question, we usually tell them to call the Senior Legal Helpline or Florida freelegalanswers.org. But, those are going to be called after the deadlines, right? After the evictions and the foreclosures and the, domestic violence, people that don't know to go to the Betty Griffin house and they're in an emergency situation. Law enforcement usually tells them that we work closely with law enforcement too. We're even working with the reentry program now. There's a really great reentry program that Sheriff Hardwick has started where people coming out of jails they're trying to help them get jobs, get housing, get on their feet. And some of them are being served things in the jail. And they're contacting us, and we're doing pro se forms and emailing them over to these officers. And the guys inside have a notary, and one was just served with like a child support thing. He had to file an answer because he doesn't have any income. And we helped him out. So we're working closely with the sheriff's office now. I like that. More and more people getting together to help our citizens that are low income or really need our help. It warms my heart.
Well, that's wonderful. I didn't know about that reentry program.
Yeah, it's a great reentry program. It's right. Officer Clark and Officer Rousseau, or so I forgot his name, but they're wonderful. And this is all Sheriff Hardwick. Sheriff Hardwick's a big fan of the treatment courts, the drug court, the veterans treatment court. He wants people to get on their feet, to get rid of their addictions, to get treatment counseling. He's clean and sober now. I don't know how many years. Great guy. And he really wants to make, not just this revolving door of cage, no cage. I mean, he really is putting resources into trying to resolve the homeless problem, trying to get a center for them built, which is almost done, where you're going to have a drop-in center and food and showers, but also services to say, this isn't how you live. Let's get you into something. Let's.
I know we have our drug court with Judge Christini.
Love it. And our veterans treatment court with Judge McGillen. And legal aid is in both those courts doing the civil legal side while people are trying to, kick all of their drug addictions and trying to get their kids back. And I mean, we're helping with all that ancillary stuff because they may have debts. They may need a bankruptcy. They may get their car repossessed. They may have child support issues, can't get their driver's license. I was with the kid from the Port in the Storm yesterday. He just said there's $140,000 he needed to pay to get his license back. Kid's 20 years old, and I kept saying, I'm not understanding what this is. And we met at the Department of Motor Vehicles. People were great there. They helped us understand there was a wreck and, his brother was going to go to jail. So he said he was driving. Anyway, people weave these webs, but now his brother's who knows where. But I got a resolve for him, and we're going to work on, getting his license back, which is going to change his whole life. But it takes a lawyer, right?
Sometimes it takes a lawyer.
We need to get in there and help people that are at the homeless shelter and the Port in the Storm and the Emergency Services Homeless Coalition and get them, the services that they need. And I really thank you for doing so many hundreds of hours every year on behalf of the people who need you in this community. I am president of your fan club, and I'm so happy you're here. And don't ever move. Don't ever leave.
Oh, I hate moving. I ain't moving anywhere.
Good.
I'm dying in my house.
That's good.
My wife may help. You never know.
No.
But this is...
No, your wife is a saint.
This has been Land Title Talk. My name is Rusty Collins. I'm a local attorney in town. If you need...
Fabulous attorney.
If you need help in your real estate closings or have questions related to a closing, you can call 904-797-9600. That's Land Title's phone number. The people there will help you. And if they can't, they'll probably tell you to call me. But we're happy to be here. This has been fun today. Next week, we'll have me and Stephen together. And we have our guest, John Reardon. And we're hoping that you'll join us there. And we'll see you next week.
We're done already?
We're done.
Darn. Thanks for having me on, though, Rusty.